No wonder it's called the death session, but then I think it's welcome there. What I'm going to talk about is give a very brief overview of what media industry is and what are the challenges which are faced by the decision makers in the media industry. And something which is very prevalent to say is that we need to have a choice, or can choice be paralyzing also? And what is the business opportunity for the IT companies? And what are the various things which are available to various professionals in the country? So that's a broad outline. I've kept it fairly overview of the industry, but if there are any specific queries that may be there, you're more than welcome to ask. I can't promise all the answers, but what I can definitely promise is that if I don't know, I'll find it out and I'll get back to you. With this, let me just start. Good afternoon. Let me just spend half a minute in terms of what TDI does, and I look after this company called TDI International. We're into transit medium advertising, which is primarily into airports and Delhi Metro and some of the malls in the country. And the reason that transit advertising is very important because this is where you get to know all the decision makers, opinion leaders, and the people who make all kinds of influences on others. Also the most prestigious globally. We handle 10 airports in the country. So that's where I do my justice to the company that I work with. Now here on to. If you look at media and entertainment industry in the country, it's about $15 billion. Currently it's about 1% of the GDP, but this is what I call is the organized part of the media and entertainment industry. There is about 10 times the size of this industry, which is in the unorganized, unaccountable, unaccounted for part of the business. So if you look at from that point of view, this business is almost contributing to about 10% of the economy, and I'll spend a little more time on it. The organized part of it has grown by about CAGR of about 11%. GDP in last 10 years has grown about 7%. At the current level of the income in the country, the ratio that the media and entertainment will grow will be 1.8x the GDP growth. As we grow higher on income, this multiplier only going to go up. So we expect that once we reach the PPP GDP of about $11,000 per capita, this multiplier will go from 1.8 to about 2.3x. So in terms of sheer growth of this industry, is going to be significantly faster than anything else. Media and entertainment has always been an integral part of our culture, our history, of all types. It has been there from time immemorial, and all of us would remember things like fairs, the festivals, the religious congregations, and the celebrations, and I include all the personal celebrations, which were a big entertainment congregation of people. And it led to a huge amount of innovation, it led to a huge amount of exchange of ideas, exchange of cultures, exchange of views, and therefore it's always been very prevalent in India. Some of the fairs in India go back to about 2000 years non-stop. And some of the most popular fairs in the country today are as recent as 150 years old, which is the Kumbh Mela. The earliest signals we have from Kumbh Mela is somewhere in the middle of 19th century. And the business transacted in Kumbh Mela is in excess of about 700 crores. That's a total business generated. That's what it fuels the economy. It's becoming a little more organized over a period of time. If you look at outdoor industry, this is over 150 years old in the country, where India started with putting on the wall sites, the painted by small entrepreneurs and the big entrepreneurs. And I remember when I joined my first company, Hindustan Unilever, we used to spend a huge amount of money onto these wall sites which are in the villages. And there also it makes a huge difference that where you have your advertising, and it's hugely influential. Then came cinema, which was about 100 years ago, which got people to shell out a little more money. And then about the same time, we had the print industry, primarily the newspapers, which came into fold in the country. Radio came about 50 years ago. Television just about 25 years ago. We don't realize that how recent the television industry is. The first satellite channel in Hindi language came in India in 1994, as recently as that. And then internet, which has come about just about 10 years ago. But what is important if you see is that the sheer growth of business in media has come about in last 20-25 years, which is correlating with the opening of the economy in India. Today, the total money spent on media and entertainment, almost half, close to half, is on television. And this is the money which is spent by people who pay to their cable operators, DTH operators on one hand, and the advertisers who are paying to be on the channels on the other hand. Followed by print, which is about 28%, one-third, close to one-third. And then animation, etc. is also a very big pie in the country. Now, it is surprising to see is that some of the biggest sectors today are actually the youngest sectors of media and entertainment. And what we foresee is that in times to come, the web-based interactive consumer media consumption will take a lion's share. We think is that in about next 15 years or so, it will very easily match, if not overtake, the television current business contribution to the total media and entertainment. We also feel that there is a very strong area of user-generated content, which is videos, YouTubes of the world, which is also going to contribute a very significant part of the money that is available in the economy. Now, it is good to have a look on a longer term horizon. A lot of us say is that we are going through a very difficult time right now, and the GDP growth is supposed to be anywhere between 5 to 5.5%, and we are really cursing ourselves that, hey, why is it not 9 or 10 or 11%, which everybody was looking at it. But here I try to look at how the Indian economy has grown in the last 23 years, or 20 years actually, 30 years, 1980 to 2010. And this is the GDP in US dollars if you look at it. And you just see is that all of a sudden, the so-called 5% is what a steep growth that it has brought about in the Indian economy over a period of time. Now, if this makes us happy, and hopefully, I think the curve does look pretty impressive, and we are still sulking. Let me show you another slide. If I was to compare the same GDP growth with the PPP growth, and that is a real feel-good factor in the hands of consumers, on a PPP basis, our growth is far significantly more than the actual dollar-denominated GDP growth. Now on this, if you look at a multiplier of 1.8x, and as I said, is that the moment we cross the 10,000 mark on PPP basis, it goes to 2.3x. All of a sudden, the media and entertainment organized sector, which is currently 1% of GDP, will go to about 4 to 6% of the GDP, making it probably 6th or 7th largest contributor to the GDP in the country. That's the kind of business we are having. Now, this is all the good side of the media, but if I am a media operator and I want to really make prompt decisions either as an advertiser or as a media company, does the picture look so rosy? I'm sure that you will say that it is far from rosy. If I'm an advertiser, the various planes that I have to consider which medium to use to communicate what my offering is. On one hand, I got to look at consumers on their demographic terms, which is the age, gender, geography, education, income, family size, etc., etc. At the same time, overlapping with that, I need to look at the psychographics, which is a consumer experimenter? Is he a follower? Is she very social, or is she very individualistic? Is she a one who is willing to spend a lot of money on media and entertainment or not, or my product category? For the products that I have, a typical advertiser today has 3 to 150 products to cater to. And then the medium or the media which are available are so phenomenally large in number outdoor, whether it is airports or roads or railway stations, or bus stations, or moving vehicles, or wall sites, or hoardings, or in the print, we have newspapers, we have magazines, we have pamphlets, we have catalogs. On radio, we have national radio, we have a local radio. On television, we have satellite, we have terrestrial, and we have local television channels. And on web, the choice is even more spoiling. Whether I go through search, or news, or social, or shopping, or utility, or video, or music, or photos, or user-generated information. Then I need to slice it with the decision that where do I spend my money? Is it by the region? Or is it by the state? Is it the entire state, or do I have to go for a metro? Or the cities specifically, let's say is that million plus cities? Or I need to go to the towns, or I need to go to the villages? And which language? There are 27 languages in which media is available today. So all of a sudden, if I start playing the statistician's game in terms of the sheer number of choices that are available to me, and my calculator gave way, but Excel came in handy, it comes to something like 1.9 billion combinations. Now, how is it that I can decide when I have to decide between 1.9 billion combinations which are available to me? So that's where I call a paralysis of choice. That's where most of the decisions which are made are not necessarily made in the most logical way, which is the best interest of the company or the brand. For the simple reason that there is no bandwidth available to analyze and take decisions based on 1.9 billion variables. How does one do it? And that's going to be a huge challenge, because going forward, the proliferation of the brands and the medium is only on the increase. And this is the biggest challenge facing today's decision maker, not only in media. I'm sure this challenge is there in many other fields as well. As I said, is that M&A tends to grow faster than the economy, and 1.8x. And I'll tell you why I've come to this again. Spoiled for choice. In outdoor, for each of the things, the numbers might be absolutely numbing to you. We thought airports are not too many where we can advertise in the country. Today we have in India 105 airports. In a matter of next 3 years, the number will go to 223 airports. And that's where the airlines, commercial airlines, will fly. There are 20,000 railway stations. There are 100,000 shaded bus stands in the country. There are 1.4 million hoardings and over 10 million wall sites. And this is one of the most fragmented. If I was to say that I want to advertise in the 400 cities in the country on the hoardings, is there one vendor who can give me all that? Forget it. Even the biggest of the agencies has a network not beyond 40 cities. Then you start getting into doling it down further, subcontracting it. But if you thought this was crazy, how many of us realize that there are 82,237 newspapers in the country which are registered with RNI as on 2010. That's the latest figure available in 22 languages. There are 73,000 magazines in 20 languages across the country, again registered with RNI in 2011. There are 537 satellite channels in the country. That means that each channel is got a footprint from north to south and east to west. There are 21 terrestrial channels and there are 38,000 local channels. India is a country which has the largest number of TV channels in any country in the world. Any country in the world. On radio, how many of us realize that there are 419 radio stations in the country, out of which 171 are All India Radio and 248 private in over 20 languages, including one international radio station which is operated by Air India, which has, the last count I knew, were 9 different languages outside Indian languages. Now, Looking at the IT industry, what is the opportunity which is available? In India today, there are about 5,000 approximately listed companies on the stock exchange. And this is creme de la creme, the large organizations, organized sector, which is catered to by most of the industries, service as well as product industries. There are over 70,000 private limited companies, which again are very organized. And there are 8.8 million other small businesses. Not to remind ourselves, or 27 million very small owner, individual oriented businesses in the country, and this does not take into account anything to do with agriculture. This is pure non-agriculture figures that I'm talking about. And if you look at where is the focus of the industry, it is largely limited to 5,000 listed companies and maybe another 1,000 to 1,500 private limited companies. So the real bottom of the pyramid is something which is completely untouched upon. And I'll tell you is there are some companies which have taken lead and they have catered to this, the so-called relative bottom of the pyramid, and they have built a strong, very, very strong brand value and a business on that. And the one name that comes to top of the mind is a software catering to small, very small micro sector financial package called Tally. How many of us know that Tally, in terms of business today, the current turnover is in the range of 400 to 500 crores in terms of what the customer pays for it, not what the company generates. Now this 500 crores is coming on a per annum basis. The cumulative sale that they have made in the country is in excess of 3,500 crores from the time they started. And they, by their own acknowledgement, have not even reached any substantial numbers of what they think the potential is. In their own view, there are about 10 times the pirated versions of Tally which are available than what they are officially selling. That's the kind of opportunity which is available to cater to this bottom of the pyramid. Now, in the media sector, if you look at it, is the largest media company in the country today is just about 20 years old in terms of the size. And the company which is the oldest in the media business is not even the top 100 in the today's environment. So I think is the media which is available today in smaller size across the country is ready to accept the IT because of the sheer challenge and the complexity that a country like India proposes to them. What is my view when I look at as a CEO of organization, and I've worked in 3 different types of media companies, in one automotive company, one consumer goods company, and one lifestyle company. From a large to a startup to a turnaround organization, I think is the industry is still very much focused on a problem solution approach. I have a problem in a linear manner, can I have a solution to it? IT is still seen as a very service oriented function. It is still focused on very large corporate organizations. And if you look at the presence of IT professionals in the top management of the company, is still a long way to go. And IT professionals are technical and not fully integrated in the business. So they're looking at solutions to a functional problem and not necessarily a business problem. And one of the biggest frustration that when I sit in and I ask people, they say, I can solve one bit of the problem. How does that fit into the big jigsaw of the organization? That's where the problem starts and ends. So I think is that the challenge that the top management of most of the organizations have is that how does one translate the technical knowledge into a wider horizon, business perspective, a significant piece in the jigsaw, which is not standalone, but integral part of the jigsaw as an IT professional. In media alone, IT is yet to be an integrated business solution provider. And I'll give you a smaller example. As I said, I am in TDI, which is the outdoor media business. I'm looking for a solution which integrates CRM with inventory management and the yield management system. And I've gone across the world. There is not one solution available across the world. And when I go to the guys who have similar solutions available for television and the print industry, and the answer they gave, hey, our hands are full with the existing business. Why do you want us to invest in something else? Where the outdoor industry is not as large as a single operator on the television industry. So I don't want to focus in there. But I think it's just a matter of time before somebody picks up the baton, develops a source, and makes it really effective for small and medium-sized enterprises, and then sky's the limit. I think is that today, the size of such opportunity in media alone is anywhere between 250 to 500 crores. And if you look at the wider industry, to me, this is easily 10 to 20 times bigger than what it is now. That's a new opportunity. There's a money on the table. And this money is there for the taking. And what it will do in turn is make these businesses so efficient that it will catapult from 1.2% of the GDP today to 6-7% of the GDP, making 7th and 8th largest contributor to the economy over a period of next 15 to 20 years. Let's not forget that the same cinema theaters where we were paying 20, 30, 40, 50 rupees, which we do in single screen cinemas in the interiors of the country today, has moved all in a manner of really last 10 years or so, where people are willing to pay 250, 300 rupees per show in a multiplex. That's a multiplier effect that it can have, which brings in transparency, revenue sharing, and the growth in business. So that's where my presentation is. As I said, is that the more important thing is that if there was any specific query to you, otherwise I could be saying too many things which may or may not necessarily be very relevant to all of you or one of you.
Small correction. The first satellite was launched in 1975.
Yes.
1994.
No, I said it's the first satellite entertainment channel, which is media and entertainment. Before that, it was by the government for either the government's own purposes or largely confined to agriculture and education. Yeah, I'm saying is it? Yeah, yeah.
Do we have more questions? All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.